Alrighty. So today's discussion is about threat actors, specifically employees. So why are we here today with this particular topic? It's because I read another interesting story or article in Bleeping Computer. The article is written by Bill Tolles about a disgruntled former employee who wiped out 180 virtual servers. This incident cost the company around $678,000. The criminal got like 2 years, 8 months prison time. And this was all evolved around basically not revoking or clearing out his credentials before he left. Okay, so this started me down the rabbit hole. The article also mentions an incident with a Cisco employee. Same thing, former employee. They didn't revoke or clear out his account, and he deleted, I think, 400 some virtual machines, 456 virtual machines. All right, so the human element in cyber incidents can be divided into malicious, which is intentional, and accidental, which is not intentional. So according to the 2024 DBIR report, which is from Verizon, it dedicates a section to privilege misuse, which is what I would consider these incidents. So privilege misuse is intentional attacks by employees and former employees. It's a growing concern for businesses. And although external attacks from our financially motivated actors remain significant, businesses are increasingly vulnerable to attacks from within their own ranks. These attacks, often driven by financial gain, espionage, or grudges, can be devastating consequences, and it could include huge financial losses, reputation damage, and business disruption. All right, so I pulled this page from the 2024 Verizon DBIR, and it basically tells you kind of the same thing, that an employee betrayal poses a significant threat because they can steal data a little bit easier. They know where everything is. Personal data is a prime target. They know what's valuable to your company, and sometimes they want to leverage that for personal gain or for a grudge or something like that. So internal actors are again largely working on their own in this pattern. The financial motivation remains in ascension, while the espionage is a distant second. Personal data is still the main targeted data type. And so you see the part that says fool me once. Companies trust their employees. They trust them do their jobs, raise issues that need attention, and generally have the organization's best interests at heart. And in a perfect world, that could be true, but not always. Okay, so shame on you. What motivates employees to steal data? In their experience from the data, it's largely financial, whether they plan to use the data to commit financial crimes or just help them get a leg up in a new gig. So it's important to know that sometimes these employees don't necessarily want to sell it to a bad guy. They want to obtain that information, and they want to leverage it for another job. Okay, it tends to be on their own for their own direct benefit. All right, so let's start with the full summary. So cybersecurity incidents stemming from malicious insiders pose a significant challenge in today's digital landscape. These incidents frequently involve the misuse of legitimate privileges or intentional malicious actions that expose organizations to considerable risk. Insider threats manifest in various forms, with motives ranging from financial gain and espionage to personal grudges. So keep that in mind again, personal grudges. If an employee is unhappy, that can tip them over the boat to do something that they will hugely regret later. Okay, so unlike external attackers primarily driven by financial motives, insiders often possess valuable knowledge about an organization's systems, data, and security protocols, making them particularly dangerous adversaries. The impact of insider incidents can be severe, resulting in data breaches, financial losses, reputational damage, erosion of customer trust. That's what we said just previously. Okay, so Kaspersky's 2020 2023 Human Factor Survey revealed that 26% of cyber incidents in the past couple years resulted from employees' intentional information security policy violations. Okay, so notably in the financial services industry, they exhibited a higher incident with 22% of incidents attributed to this cause. Okay, Kaspersky's study also found that 20% of malicious actions were committed by employees for personal gain, with a staggering 34% reported again in the financial sector. So I guess they see the money there, they see the data there, and they just can't resist, especially maybe when they're mad at the company. The 2024 DBIR provided further insights into the threat landscape. The human element in breaches, the report indicates that 68% of breaches involves some kind of human element, emphasizing the critical role of employee actions in cybersecurity incidents. That's another reason also for security awareness. Teach people about social engineering, vulnerabilities, and stuff like that. Oops, I think I skipped one. Make sure I didn't. Okay. So the human element in breaches, as defined by Verizon, refers to incidents where human actions or inactions contributed to a breach. The DBIR team revised their calculation of the human element to exclude malicious privilege misuse. So in future reports, starting with 2024, they separated what they call the human element, and they extracted and are making their own category for malicious privilege misuse, aiming to isolate the actions and inactions that security awareness training could affect. So the human element, they're thinking, everybody makes mistakes. You just need to train them a little bit more. And if you separate these two into separate categories, that you might be able to show improvement. And then you're taking out the evil bad guy. This revised definition clarifies the impact of security awareness training, which is not designed to address the malicious insider threats. The human element played a role in 68% of breaches. So if you could eliminate that, you would be doing awesome. All right, insider. So what is an insider? An insider is any person who has or had authorized access to or knowledge of an organization's resources, including their personnel, their facilities, the information, their equipment, their networks, and other systems. So what's an insider threat? So we're using the CISA definition here. So CISA defines insider threat as a threat that an insider will use their authorized access wittingly or unwittingly to do harm to the department's mission, their resources, again, their personnel, their facilities, information, equipment, networks, and systems. The threat can manifest as damage to the department through the following insider behaviors. So here are the behaviors: espionage, terrorism, unauthorized disclosure of information, corruption, sabotage, workplace violence. So what about the Kaspersky 2023 Human Factor Survey? This is actually a pretty good survey. So it's aimed to help understand the role people play in cybersecurity, focusing on internal and external. Here's the breakdown of the key points. The goal is to gain a 360-degree view of the human element in cybersecurity. This included IT security professionals, non-IT staff, decision makers within the organization, along with their interactions with vendors and external partners. Okay, participants, the IT security professionals from small and mid-sized businesses, SMEs, and enterprise organizations worldwide. So the key findings were the prevalence of cyber incidents. So according to this survey, 77% of companies experienced at least one cyber attack in the past 2 years, with 75% of them reporting them as serious. So 75% of the 77% said, this was very serious. Human role in the attacks, employee actions were a significant factor in security breaches. And if you remember in a previous comment, employee inactions also contribute to these challenges. Intentional violations, 26% of incidents stemmed from employees deliberately violating security policies. This was nearly as concerning as hacking, which is 30%. So they're saying they deliberately violated security policies. Doesn't mean that they were saying, hey, I'm going to commit a crime. It means that they felt entitled to bypass a policy for some particular reason. So unintentional errors, IT security staff errors contributed to 14% of incidents, with another 15% from other staff. So these are unintentional. It's a mistake, might come from lack of knowledge, low skill level, overworked, that kind of thing. Pressure to perform quicker with a particular process, all those things can contribute to unintentional errors. The survey highlights the importance of considering human behavior in cybersecurity strategies. It emphasizes that both malicious and unintentional actions by employees can be a major security risk. And I think in the Verizon DBIR moving forward, you'll see that increase, and you'll see it increase for a variety of reasons. One, because people feel entitled, and two, because they're going to do a better job at extrapolating that information. So privilege misuse. Privilege misuse incidents are primarily driven by unapproved or malicious use of legitimate privileges. Okay, again, incidentally, the DBIR team revised its calculation of the human element in breaches to exclude malicious privilege misuse. This revision aims to provide a clearer metric of what security awareness training can affect, as it wouldn't be effective for malicious insiders. It might be a little bit if you keep reminding people that if they do something horrible, they're going to go to jail. Obviously not for a very long time, but they're still go to jail. The DBIR now classifies these malicious insider threats as a separate pattern, privilege misuse, rather than including them in the human element. So again, as mentioned earlier, privilege misuse and the human element metric are separate now. So privilege misuse and intentional attacks by current and former employees represent a serious and evolving threat to organizations across industries. So again, just talking about that one more time, understanding the motives behind these attacks, recognizing the potential red flags, and implementing robust security measures are crucial steps in mitigating the risk posed by insider threats. Moreover, organizations must prioritize fostering a culture of cybersecurity awareness among all employees to address both malicious and unintentional security breaches. All right, so access control. So here's some recommendations. So access controls and least privilege. So the principle of least privilege, this grants employees the minimum access level required for their job duties. This reduces the damage that a disgruntled employee with access could inflict. It also just reduces it for other reasons as well. But least privilege is one of the best things that you can do to reduce your risk. Multi-factor authentication, enforce MFA for all logins, including remote access and privileged accounts. This adds an extra layer of security. Okay, regular access reviews. So this comes with the original article that I read, and there are some other articles out there. There's a lot of incidents where someone had access when they shouldn't have had access anymore. They were no longer an employee, or they were maybe even a different role. So conduct periodic reviews of employee access rights, revoke access for inactive accounts and those who have changed roles. And so this is the same as physical security. So if you do role-based access for buildings, pharmacists can get into the pharmacy, an admin person may not be able to get into that, those kind of things. If you do that for physical security, you should also do it for all your networks and your virtual access. Disable accounts promptly. And so again, this should just be tied to the human resources kind of process. Once an employee leaves, you terminate the access immediately. And there are processes and policies where if you have a high-level network job, they may actually disable those accounts quicker, and they may not even want your 2 or 4 weeks notice. This prevents people from using their old credentials. So technical safeguards, patch management, obviously. So again, if an employee knows your weaknesses or they know what equipment you have, they can take advantage of that. So implement a rigorous patch management system to address vulnerabilities in software and firmware promptly. Unpatched systems are easier targets. Endpoint security, deploy endpoint detection and response solutions to monitor employee devices for suspicious activity. Obviously, there's a lot of tools out there that do that. And so when an employee gets ready to leave, sometimes you might hear about employees who are like, well, let me move this stuff over here. Let me move this stuff over here. And then they might say, these particular files might help me with my new job. That's a no-no. You can't do that. And that's when these tools come into play, and they might start noticing heavy downloads of files or changing in emails, stuff like that. Technical safeguards still, data loss prevention, implement a data loss prevention process. And so implement DLP to prevent sensitive data exfiltration through unauthorized channels like USB drives or email attachments, kind of what we just said. Network segmentation, segment your network to limit the blast radius of a potential attack. This can prevent an attacker from accessing critical systems. Okay, security awareness and culture. So security training, provide regular security awareness training to educate employees about social engineering, phishing attempts, and the importance of data security. And I'll kind of throw in, what are the repercussions if an employee does decide to do something intentional, like bypass some of the security processes that are in place just because they think that it's going to make their job easier, or what happens to you if you leave the organization and then all of a sudden you think, hey, again, I think these reports and files that I created for my company will help me in my new job. And so educate people on that. Some people might be naive. They may not realize that that is owned by the company. Incident reporting, establish clear procedures for employees to report suspicious activity. Foster a culture of open communication where employees feel comfortable raising security concerns. Okay, and then background checks. Consider background checks, especially for positions with high levels of access. And then the credits, of course, again, Bleeping Computer, Access CISA, Info Security Magazine, Kaspersky, and Verizon DBIR. And I don't see Verizon DBIR on here, but that's a really good one. And if I had to look at 3 particular ones, I would definitely go with Bleeping Computer. I would go with the Kaspersky Human Factor 360 report and DBIR, but all these articles are great. You should look at them. And then again, one more time, your biggest asset can be one of your largest risks. That's your threat actors, who are your employees. Employees will do weird things for unexplainable reasons. It's in their head. Educate them, try to protect your resources and your data, and just hang in there and watch out for the evil guys. Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.